Jack was alone on the night shift at Orion Station, a massive human-built space hub floating quietly above Earth. The main hall was almost empty, only the faint hum of the engines and the soft flicker of warning lights breaking the silence. He liked these quiet nights, when no one bothered him and he could work in peace. Then the alarm rang, sharp and unexpected. Jack sat up straight, his eyes scanning the control screens. An unknown small craft was approaching fast. No ID code, no permission request, nothing. It was coming in on an emergency dock route. Great, Jack muttered under his breath. This is how trouble starts. The craft bumped gently against the docking ring, and the airlock hissed open. Jack grabbed his toolkit and moved towards the entrance. He was ready for anything. Pirates, smugglers, even damaged drones. But he wasn't ready for her. Standing there was a young alien girl. Her skin was a soft pale blue. Her eyes a shining silver that seemed to glow under the station lights. She wore a sleek silver suit with glowing lines across the arms, and a small round device at her neck that blinked green every few seconds. The girl tilted her head, studying him like he was a rare creature. "Greetings, human," she said, her voice clear but slightly distorted. Then the translator device at her neck glitched, and her voice turned into a jumble of strange sounds before clicking back to normal. Jack blinked. Hi, what are you doing here?" "This is a restricted dock." She stepped forward, holding up her hands. "I am Lyra of the Solari," she said. "I have come on a cultural mission." The translator buzzed again, this time making the word mission sound like mission. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Cultural mission? At this hour?" Lyra's silver eyes sparkled. "Yes, it is urgent," she said. "I must learn the way humans create." Laughter. Jack stared at her, unsure. If she was joking, "You came all this way to learn human jokes?" Lyra nodded seriously. "It is part of my council's agreement with the Human Alliance," she explained. "We exchange knowledge, technology, and humor. But I have only 7 days before I must return to my world. If I fail, I will not be allowed to come back." Jack rubbed his forehead, trying to process what he was hearing. 7 days to learn jokes. It sounded ridiculous, and yet, looking at her, he could see she was dead serious. Then Lyra's expression changed, her eyes darting around the docking bay. "Someone followed me," she whispered. Jack's stomach tightened. "Followed you? Who?" "I do not know," she said, "but I felt a shadow, a presence, from the moment I left my planet." He glanced at the security feed and saw a tall figure moving in the shadows near the far corner of the docking ring. The man, or alien, wore a dark coat and seemed to be scanning the area. Jack felt a chill. This was no casual visitor. "Come with me," Jack said quickly. He led Lyra through the side maintenance corridor, keeping low so the cameras wouldn't pick them up. They reached a small storage room, and Jack locked the door behind them. Lyra looked around the cramped space, her hands resting lightly on the table. Her eyes were alert but calm. "I think your world is more dangerous than I expected," she said softly. Jack gave a short laugh. "Yeah, welcome to humanity." He leaned against the wall, looking at her again. For someone on a so-called laugh mission, she had the calm focus of a spy. "So," he asked, "why are jokes so important to your people?" Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. "In our culture, laughter is rare," she said. "We live with logic, order, and rules. But our leaders believe that if we can understand human humor, we can better understand human thinking. It will help us work together." Jack scratched his chin. "All right," he said. "I'll help you." Lyra's silver eyes lit up. "You will?" "Yeah," he said. "But first we need to find out who's following you." Suddenly, the storage room's lights flickered. Jack moved to the door control and checked the feed. The dark-coated figure was closer now, standing right outside the docking bay entrance. He had something in his hand, a scanner. Searching for life signs, Jack turned to Lyra. "You're in danger," he said, her eyes narrowed. "Then we must hurry." She picked up a small holographic cube from her belt and pressed it. A faint projection appeared, a map of the nearby systems, with a timer counting down from 7 days. "This is all the time we have," she said. "If I fail, I will be taken back, and our people may close the alliance." Jack's heart thudded. He didn't understand all the politics, but he knew one thing. This mission was now his problem too. Outside, the hum of footsteps grew louder. Jack grabbed his toolkit, which now felt more like a weapon. "All right, Lyra," he said. "Let's make sure your mission doesn't end here." She gave a determined nod, and together, they slipped out through the back corridor, unaware that the shadowy figure was already tracking their every move. Jack and Lyra made their way out of the docking area and into the busy central market of Orion Station. The place was alive with noise, traders shouting prices, engines humming, smells of alien food drifting through the air. Lyra's silver eyes darted from stall to stall, her expression full of curiosity. "This is perfect," she whispered. "A place with many humans. I can try my first joke here." Jack froze. "Wait here? In the middle of the market?" "Yes," Lyra said with a serious nod. "Humans laugh more when they are in groups." Jack sighed. "Or they get angry, depends on the joke." She walked up to a food stall where a group of humans were waiting in line. The stall owner, a large man with a red beard, was flipping something on a hot grill. Lyra stepped right up, cleared her throat, and began speaking loudly. Her translator buzzed and clicked, then delivered her line in perfect English. Why did the human cross the galaxy? To get to the other side. Silence. No one laughed. A child nearby tilted his head in confusion. The bearded man raised an eyebrow. Then, before Jack could react, Lyra's translator glitched and repeated the punchline in a strange alien accent. That made the word "side" sound like slime. Half the crowd frowned. One man muttered, "What's wrong with her?" And the stall owner accidentally dropped his spatula, splattering hot sauce all over the nearest customer. A tall alien mercenary with dark green skin and sharp yellow eyes. The mercenary slowly turned, his gaze landing on Lyra. "You," he growled, his voice deep and dangerous. "You think that's funny?" Lyra blinked. "Was it not?" she asked innocently. The mercenary stepped closer, towering over her. Jack quickly moved between them. "Hey, no harm done, just a misunderstanding." The mercenary's eyes narrowed, then widened slightly. He tilted his head like he recognized Lyra. Without warning, he pulled a small device from his belt, a scanner. Jack grabbed Lyra's hand. "Time to go," he said sharply. They ran through the twisting corridors of the market, past stalls and startled shoppers. Jack's mind was racing. That mercenary wasn't just angry, he was looking for her. If he was connected to the shadowy figure from before, they were in bigger trouble than he thought. They ducked into a narrow service passage, Lyra breathing quickly but still smiling. "That was thrilling," she said. "Did I do well?" Jack stared at her in disbelief. "You almost started an interstellar brawl." "But..." "No one laughed," she admitted, her voice softer now. Jack leaned against the wall. "Yeah. Comedy isn't just about the words, it's timing, it's the way you say it, and maybe not insulting someone with hot sauce." Before she could reply, a faint sound came from Jack's device. A message alert. He checked it and felt a chill. It was a still image from one of the station's security cams. The shadowy figure was standing in the market, looking directly into the camera, and beneath the image, only 2 words were written. "She's mine." Jack pocketed the and looked at Lyra. Her silver eyes were calm but determined. "We need to move fast," she said. "Tomorrow you will teach me how to make them laugh for real." Jack nodded. "Yeah. And we'll make sure no one kills you in the process." They slipped deeper into the maintenance tunnels, unaware that above them, the shadowy figure and the green-skinned mercenary had already joined forces. The hunt had officially begun. By the next morning, Jack had a plan. If Lyra was going to survive on Orion Station, she needed 2 things: better jokes and a safe place to practice them. Unfortunately, both were hard to find. The shadowy figure was still out there, and the green-skinned mercenary was likely searching too. Jack led Lyra to an old section of the station known as the Rust Docks. It was a half-abandoned area where humans and aliens came to barter junk, trade stories, and occasionally hold comedy nights in a dim-lit cafe called the Rusty Smile. Lyra looked around curiously. "It smells strange here," she said. Jack grinned. "That's the smell of bad coffee and worse decisions." They found an empty corner table. Jack took out a small datapad and started explaining. Humor works when there's a surprise, when the listener expects one thing but you give them another. Lyra tilted her head. "Like hiding a knife in a cake?" Jack blinked. No, not like that. Please don't do that." She tried a few more jokes from his datapad, but each one came out in her serious, almost robotic voice. "Knock, knock," she began. Jack replied, "Who's there?" "Intergalactic Tax Inspector," she said with a completely straight face. Jack sighed. "You've got to sound like you're having fun, Lyra." Just as she started another attempt, Jack noticed something in the reflection of the cafe's metal wall. A figure in a dark coat was standing across the street. Unmoving, watching, he felt a jolt in his chest. The shadowy figure had found them. Jack quickly tapped Lyra's hand under the table. "Don't look, but we've got company." Lyra's silver eyes flicked toward the reflection. Then she gave a small nod. "Should I make him laugh?" she whispered. Jack gave a half smile. "If you can make him laugh, you'll be a legend." They left the cafe through the back door and slipped into a maze of narrow service corridors. The lights flickered above them, casting long, shaky shadows. Lyra kept practicing as they walked, whispering joke lines under her breath. Jack couldn't decide if she was fearless or just completely unaware of how much danger they were in. Halfway through the corridor, a metallic clang echoed behind them. Jack turned and saw the dark figure step into view. His face was still hidden under the coat's hood, but his pace was steady, deliberate. Jack grabbed Lyra's wrist. "Run." They darted through the twisting halls until they burst into a wide chamber filled with stacked cargo crates. Lyra stumbled slightly, then straightened up, her eyes suddenly sharp. "Wait," she said. "I have an idea." Before Jack could ask, she climbed on top of one of the crates and shouted, "Attention! I will now perform my greatest human joke." Jack froze in disbelief. The shadowy figure stopped too, watching. Lyra spread her arms dramatically. "What do you call a human who runs from an alien?" "Fast food." There was a pause then. From somewhere high above, a voice actually chuckled. Not the shadowy figure, but someone unseen. It was followed by another sound, the hiss of an opening air vent. Suddenly, a second figure dropped from the vent. The green-skinned mercenary, landing right between Lyra and Jack. The mercenary smirked. "You're coming with me, little blue one." Jack stepped forward. "Not happening." The shadowy figure in the coat began moving closer, and Jack realized with a sinking feeling that both hunters were here for the same reason. Lyra glanced at Jack, her voice calm. "It seems my humor training is not the only thing we will be practicing today." Jack clenched his fists. "Yeah," he said. "Today's lesson, how to get out alive." 3 days into Lyra's 7-day mission, Jack learned something important. She wasn't just determined. She was unstoppable. Every failure, every awkward silence only made her more confident that the next joke would work. And now she had her eyes set on the biggest stage of all, the Galactic Smile-Off. The Smile-Off was famous across dozens of worlds. Winners became instant celebrities. Their jokes broadcast across the galaxy. But the event also attracted spies, criminals, and shady sponsors. It was held this year on Station Vega Prime, a glittering city in space, but known for its backroom deals and black market trades. When Jack told Lyra it was too dangerous, she simply smiled. "If I win, my council cannot deny my success," she said. "And if the hunters follow us there, we will see them in the crowd." Jack shook his head. "Or they'll see us in the crowd." The main hall of Vega Prime was huge. with floating light orbs above the audience and a stage shaped like a spiral. Dozens of contestants were backstage, humans, aliens, even a robot programmed for stand-up comedy. Lyra stood calmly among them, rehearsing her lines while her translator buzzed softly at her neck. Jack kept scanning the crowd. He spotted the green-skinned mercenary near the side wall, pretending to check his cum, and worse, the shadowy figure in the dark coat was seated in the VIP section, hands folded, face still hidden. The host, a tall alien with 6 arms and a voice like rolling thunder, called Lyra's name. She stepped onto the spiral stage, the spotlight bathing her in golden light. The audience leaned forward, some curious, some impatient. Jack's heart was pounding. "Greetings, beings of every world," Lyra began, her voice steady. "I am here to make you laugh, or at least make you confused enough to smile." A ripple of chuckles ran through the crowd. First joke landed better than Jack expected, but just as she started her second, a flicker ran across the lights. The microphone cut out for 2 seconds, then came back with a sharp pop. Jack's eyes darted to the side wall. The mercenary was speaking into a wrist device. Lyra didn't falter. She leaned in close to the mic and said, "What do you call a human who travels faster than light?" "Late for dinner." The audience laughed, not loud, but enough to keep her going. Then, without warning, a small drone zipped into the hall, weaving between the audience rows. Jack recognized it instantly. A tracker drone, programmed to lock onto a specific target. It was heading straight for Lyra, thinking fast. Jack slipped into the technician's booth and cut power to the drone's scanning beam. The drone spun in confusion before smashing into a wall. No one seemed to notice except the shadowy figure in the VIP section, who tilted his head ever so slightly. Lyra moved into her final joke. "What's the difference between humans and Solari?" she asked. "Humans laugh before they make a mistake. Solari laugh after they survive it." This time, the hall erupted in laughter. Jack could see the host smiling wide. She had them. The judges gave her top marks. She was through to the final round tomorrow night. But as she stepped off stage, the green-skinned mercenary blocked her path. "Nice jokes," he said quietly. "You'll be laughing less when I take you to my employer." Before Jack could reach them, Lyra leaned in and whispered something to him. The mercenary's eyes widened, and then, to Jack's shock, he actually laughed. Not a friendly laugh, but a sharp, almost bitter one. "I'll let you finish your little contest," the mercenary said. "But after that, you're mine." As they walked away, Jack whispered, "What did you say to him?" Lyra's silver eyes glimmered. "I told him he was the second scariest thing I've seen all week," she said. Jack almost smiled, but the weight of tomorrow's final pressed on him. Because both hunters would be waiting, and they wouldn't let her leave Vega Prime without a fight. The night of the finals, Vega Prime's grand hall glittered with lights. Thousands of people and aliens filled the seats, waiting for the best joke-tellers in the galaxy. Lyra stood backstage, calm on the surface, but her silver eyes flickered with hidden tension. Jack stayed close, scanning the crowd again and again. The green-skinned mercenary was nowhere in sight. That alone made Jack uneasy. He had learned that dangerous people rarely disappeared without a reason, and the shadowy figure was in the same VIP seat as before. Still watching silently, Lyra's name was third on the list for the night. As the first performer went on stage, Jack decided to check her microphone. He froze when he saw it. The device was slightly open, wires exposed. Someone had tampered with it. If Lyra used it, the feedback blast could damage her translator and maybe her hearing. Jack quickly replaced it with a spare. He didn't tell Lyra, no need to rattle her before she went up. But the sabotage didn't stop there. A technician ran past shouting that the lighting controls had gone haywire. Stage lights were blinking in strange patterns, like coded signals. Lyra stepped onto the stage when her turn came. The lights dimmed, but instead of the warm golden spotlight, a harsh blue beam locked onto her. Jack's eyes narrowed. That wasn't random. Someone was making her stand out as a target. She began her set anyway. Why do humans eat cake when they are sad? Because salad doesn't listen to your problems. The crowd laughed. But Jack noticed movement at the edge of the hall. A small disc-shaped drone was gliding in low. Heading for the stage, Jack bolted towards the lighting rig controls. If he could overload the front lights, maybe he could blind the drone's sensors. He slammed the controls. The stage flared bright for 2 seconds. The drone spun wildly and crashed into the front row. The audience gasped, thinking it was part of the show. Lyra, without missing a beat, said, "And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why my jokes are explosive." The hall erupted in laughter. She finished her set strong. But as she walked backstage, the mercenary appeared from the shadows. His voice was low, almost amused. "You are harder to catch than I thought," he said. Jack stepped forward. But the mercenary raised his hand. "Relax, human. I'm just here to deliver a message." He leaned closer to Lyra. "My employer will collect you after the winner is announced." The mercenary slipped away before security could notice Jack's hands tightened into fists. Lyra, however, only smiled faintly. "If I am going to be taken, I might as well win first," she said. Jack stared at her. "You're either brave or completely insane." "Both," she replied softly, adjusting her translator. The final results would be announced in less than an hour. But Jack knew the real challenge wouldn't be winning. It would be leaving Vega Prime alive. The grand hall was louder than ever. Spotlights swept across the cheering crowd as the host stepped onto the spiral stage. "This," the host announced, "is the moment you have all been waiting for. The final performance of the Galactic Smile-Off." Backstage, Lyra stood with perfect posture, her translator glowing faint green. Jack stayed close, scanning every corner. He had already spotted 2 security officers acting strangely near the side doors, and he was sure they weren't real security. When the host called Lyra's name, the audience roared with curiosity. The alien girl who had made it this far was a mystery to most of them. She walked out slowly, each step graceful, her silver eyes locking on the crowd like she was memorizing every face. Jack's gaze moved to the VIP section. The shadowy figure had finally lowered his hood, revealing a pale, angular face with faint silver markings, the same as Lyra's. Jack's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't a random hunter. This was someone from her own people. Lyra reached the center of the stage. She spoke her first line clearly. "What is the hardest thing about learning human jokes?" she asked. "It is when you realize most of them are about other humans." The crowd chuckled, but Jack kept his eyes moving. That's when he saw it. The green-skinned mercenary, slipping along the side wall, hand on a hidden weapon. Lyra moved into her second joke, but just as she reached the punchline, the stage lights flickered again. Not random this time. They pulsed in a rhythmic code from the corner of his eye. Jack saw the fake security officers moving towards the backstage stairs. Jack pushed through the crew. Sprinting up to the lighting rig, he slammed the override switch, flooding the hall with blinding golden light. For a moment, everyone froze, then chaos erupted. The mercenary made his move. Leaping onto the stage with shocking speed, the crowd screamed, thinking it was part of the act. Lyra stepped back, but instead of panic, she smiled faintly. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said into the mic, "this next joke will be unforgettable." Jack grabbed a loose cable from the rig and swung down, landing between Lyra and the mercenary. The mercenary snarled, raising his weapon. But before he could fire, a sharp voice rang out from the VIP section. "Stand down," the shadowy figure commanded. The mercenary hesitated, his eyes narrowing. But he obeyed, stepping back. Lyra's silver eyes locked with the shadowy figure's. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly, her voice carrying even without the mic. "I came to take you home," he replied. The audience sat in stunned silence, not sure if this was still a comedy show or something far bigger. Lyra turned back to the crowd. "And that," she said, "is why I prefer humans. They only kidnap you after dessert." The hall exploded in laughter, breaking the tension, but Jack knew the danger was far from over. The contest ended with thunderous applause. Lyra had won, her final joke replaying on every screen in the hall. The host declared her the champion of the galactic smile-off, and the crowd cheered until the walls seemed to shake. But behind the celebration, the tension still lingered. The green-skinned mercenary slipped away into the shadows, no doubt planning his next move. The shadowy figure, now unmasked as a Solari like Lyra, waited near the exit, his expression unreadable. Jack stayed by Lyra's side as she collected her trophy. It was a crystal sphere that shimmered like starlight. To the audience, it was just a prize, but to Lyra's counsel, it would be proof she had mastered the human art of laughter. Outside the hall, the Solari envoy stepped forward. "It's time," he said simply. Lyra looked at Jack, her smile calm but her eyes softer. "Than before, I have to go," she said. "But I will return." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You sound sure about that?" She leaned closer. "Humans laugh in the face of danger. I think I've learned that from you." As they reached the docking bay, Jack noticed a small package in his jacket pocket. He hadn't felt her slip it in. When he opened it, he found a sleek black communicator. Unlike any human design, its screen flashed a single message: "Knock knock." Jack chuckled, shaking his head, but before he could reply, the Solari ship's engines roared. Lyra stood at the boarding ramp. Raising 2 fingers in a salute-like gesture, the ship lifted off, its silver hull reflecting the lights of Vega. Prime before vanishing into the dark, Jack turned to leave, but stopped when he spotted a faint shimmer near the far wall. A cloaked figure was standing there, watching him. Not the mercenary, not the Solari envoy, someone new. The figure gave a slow nod before disappearing into the crowd. Jack's smile faded. Lyra's mission might be over, but his had just begun.